everyone, welcome back to Art a la Carte. Today's challenge is going to be the one marker challenge. So this challenge has been done by a couple different YouTube artists. I think the first person that I saw do it was Bailey, but I've seen several artists do it since, and you guys have been asking for me to do this challenge, so here we go. Now I do have quite a few markers and did not really want to dump them all out, so what I did is they are all sectioned off into 6 different sections. So I wrote down numbers 1 through 6 on little pieces of paper and then put a cloth over my hand so I couldn't see, and I drew out one number, and that was the number of the color section I was going to pull out of. So this was number 4 was the lucky winner, and so it was 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it would be the biggest section. So I would pull all of these markers down and choose one from this pile. So these are all my reds, purples, and kind of pinky purples. So it's the R family, the RV family, and the V family. Now to make this absolutely positive that I cannot see, I decided to put all of these markers into my cute little Totoro bag, and then I would zip it up and just slip my hand in just enough where I could get my hand in, but I couldn't see what was going on, and draw one marker out. And it turned out to be a little bit tougher to actually keep it zipped with my hand in there. But as you can see, I did not peek. I could not see what marker I was going to get. I searched around in there, wiggled it around, and then, voila, drum roll please, pulled out the one marker. And I was hoping for like a nice mid-tone, not super dark, not super light. And the one that I got was R21, which was a little bit lighter than I was hoping for. If I had to choose, I would have rather had something that was a little on the darker side, because it's easier to lighten up a marker, but you can only go so dark with a marker, and that is the darkest that I can get. Now with this challenge, I don't know that there's set rules to any of these challenges, like set in stone. But what I decided to do was actually do it 2 different ways. So I do this marker challenge twice. The first one is I'm allowed to use a pencil, which I use one of my pink colored pencils, and then just the marker. So I didn't have anything for inking in. I really wanted to see if I could achieve, some different gradients with it being with like the brush nib, and to kind of feather that out. And I also wanted to try a technique that I've seen several artists use, which is you take a colorist blender, which is just the alcohol solution, and it dilutes that color a little bit and helps you to blend things. So it's really not a marker, it's just the solution without color. And you can kind of push color out and help it kind of fade a little bit. I wanted to see what I could create with that. So for this piece, I am making a fairy cat. I was really, during this time of recording this video, have been watching the live stream of the 2 feral cats having their kittens, and so I was very much into cats at the time. So I placed in the regular color. You can see for the kind of the pattern work behind there, I was really trying to push the color out with the colorless blender. And I know as I'm putting the colorless blender in, it looks like it has a blue tint. That's the color of the board behind it, which is green. But once I put a white piece of paper behind that, you don't see that anymore. So you see it's just the pink color. And then began to apply the color. Now there was a couple of different techniques that I used. One was just the basic feather motion that you use with a brush tip of your marker, which is kind of flick that around. The second was to lay down some colorless blender so the paper is already kind of saturated. That way when you go to apply the actual marker, it kind of spreads a little bit and you can blend it out. And then the other is to take the colorless blender and tap the actual colored marker, and it transfers a little bit of the color onto the colorless blender and allows you to spread that out in a more, kind of lightens that color up a little bit and gives you a little bit more variance in the shades. So I think it worked okay. It wasn't as great and as amazing as I've seen other artists do. I think it was kind of, the color was not super duper inspiring for a really like majestic piece. Because it was so pink, I thought it was kind of maybe a little bit more cartoony or full of fantasy. There we go. I do like how this piece turned out. It's not great, but it was fun. It was a good challenge, and it was fun to kind of see, to push my color pen, to push that marker to see exactly what it can do. So now let's go ahead and try take two. So with take two, I allowed myself a few more tools, one being an ink pen to ink in my lines. So for this one, I was originally going to go with a black outline. I think it might have looked better with a black outline, but instead I decided I had a magenta kind of colored multi-liner pen, so I decided to go with that instead to keep everything really pink, and it worked well. But I think the black would have added that kind of drastic contrast, which would have worked in my benefit. But in my defense, I really wanted to try to keep everything pink. I felt that was a little bit more of a challenge. So for the design of this piece, I decided to, because this had this kind of cartoony feel to it, that I would draw more of a cartoon illustrated character. And because the color, the entire time I was coloring the fairy cat, I kept thinking about bubblegum or cotton candy, I thought that I would go ahead and draw a character. At first I thought eating some cotton candy, but then I decided to switch that to blowing like a big bubble with chewing bubblegum. So yeah, this character was so fun. She just almost drew herself. I just loved the kind of the edginess to her character. She kind of has a sassy kind of character. Reminded me a lot, if you've ever watched the movie Grease. What is that girl's character's name? Anyway, she's the one character. I can't remember her name, but if you've seen Grease, you probably know exactly who I'm talking about. If you know her name, leave it in the comment section below. But yeah, that character. And I thought that's kind of reminded me of her, except she didn't have pink hair. Again, as I was adding color to this, I was able to lay in some colors lightly and then kind of go back in over it with the color and deepen that a little bit. I was able to find some good, a little bit of a push with that. And you'll see that a little bit more into play later on in the picture, as I decide to add in some patterns to her clothes. Instead of just having it all colored one flat color, I decided to make some nice stripes. I thought that would give some little bit of variance in the picture, a little bit more interest. And after the stripes on the shirt dry, and you'll see this at the very end, you can go back over and add the color over top of it in places that you want to add shadow, and you can still see the stripes behind it. Now if I scrubbed that marker color on there a whole bunch, it would reactivate the marker stripes and they would blend together and you wouldn't be able to see the stripes as much. But with having it dry and just going very quickly over those marker stripes, I was able to kind of get that shadow in there. I really do like the idea of a character chewing bubblegum and blowing a bubble, and I might revisit this when I have more options of colors. I think this would be kind of a fun card or just illustration. But for having just one marker, I was really pleased with this. I actually really do like this second piece a lot. I mean, the first one was okay, but this one, I think I felt more comfortable using only one color and kind of figured out, you know, how to really maximize the use of the color and the white of the paper, which in my first piece I kind of just made everything variances of that color and really didn't focus on that the white of the paper is actually its own tone and everything. So yeah, it was a fun challenge. I learned a lot. I hope you enjoyed watching it. Maybe it encouraged you to take a little challenge on your own. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're brand new to this channel, hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any other videos. I've got some good ones coming up. And while you wait, if you want to check one of these two videos out, go right ahead. So until next time, thanks for watching. God bless you guys, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.